attendance?
Mr. Doran.
Here.
Mr. Lehman.
Here.
Here. Okay, then first item, I guess, is approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion. We approve the minutes as presented.
Wasn't here.
I'll second that. It's been seconded, yeah. Do we need to take,
Up to you. Just go ahead and
don't need it. Okay, minutes have been approved. All right.
just have a real quick announcement here. I sent you all an email out a couple of weeks ago that Nancy Hartline, our financial manager, will be resigning here in May, but what we'll be doing, well, anyway, before we get there, so she'll be resigning, and we've hired a new financial manager to replace her, and that's Stacy Jones. She will be up here a little bit later to go over the budget with you. Stacy's been with FPDR for several years now, so I think it's a good move. She has a lot of the background already for the position, and will be able to step in and keep this going without much interruption, trying to fill Nancy's shoes. And so what we're going to be doing is February 25th will be Stacy's official start date. So for 3 months, it'll take us through May. Nancy will be double filling, training her. And then for the next 3 to 4 months, Nancy will be working part-time to help us through some big financial reports and audits that we have to get through in the summer, and we'll be down. So she'll be there. So Nancy's official last day will be probably around September 2nd. So you'll get to hear from her today, and I think and she'll come around and shake your hands before you go home. Okay.
That's it? Okay. Do we have any visitors to be introduced? Yeah. Dale.
Good afternoon. Del Stevens, retired Portland Fire Department, ex-trustee pension board. I was hoping the mayor would be here today. I see he's not. What I wanted to address the board about, I wanted to start out by saying that the lives of retired fire and police matter also. And one of the things that constitutes the quality of their life is the way they're treated on benefits. And we've talked about this overpayment issue now over 2 years. And the last I was told about it, the pension board was referring it to the mayor's office. I talked to the mayor's office about it, and the mayor was going to pursue it and go to the Bureau of Risk Management, because they have the ability to indemnify the city if a mistake was made through error or negligence or just a omitted decision. The pension board has, I believe, taken the position that the members that made the correction for the overpayment willingly should have been refunded. And I tried to bring it up to the board at the time that the people that did not want to pay it, they had secured an attorney, there was going to be a lawsuit, and I said, these people need to be treated well also, because I said they have willingly done the right thing. The mayor spoke to this. The mayor made comments, and I have him on videotape, saying good people that do the right thing should not be punished, okay? Mr. Foch made the comment, if we had the ability to correct it, we would. All of this is part of the history of this. I brought up the issue that PERS had an overpayment issue. PERS went ahead and covered it for their members. They didn't make them pay it back. And we were told by the people in the pension board that IRS insisted it had to be paid back. And in fact, the correspondence that was delivered to the membership, the retired members, was all indicating that the tax qualified status of the pension was at stake, okay? I came up with a bulletin from IRS that said that there was a misunderstanding about overpayments, that IRS does not insist they be paid back, that this apparently has circulated through our country, and different pension boards have taken the wrong position on it. I read that into the record. The mayor said that they would consider that and study it. I received a letter at home saying that the pension board had no intention of going back to IRS to get a clarification, so they weren't prepared to do that. The mayor said his hands were tied. He said, if I could do it, I would. And I suggested that the Bureau of Risk Management was the place to solve it. At the last meeting, which was 2 months ago, I was informed the mayor had went to the Bureau of Risk Management, and they had said that they didn't think it was a good idea, okay? Well, since then, I've done a little research, and I've been to the Bureau of Risk Management, and I'm told that nobody down there remembers this conversation, and the person that I talked to, and I'm not going to reveal his name because he's concerned about reprisal, he said that he doesn't see a problem with paying it. If a mistake was made or an error was made, he said that's fine. He said that's what we do. But he said anything over $5,000 requires an ordinance, and it has to be passed by the city council. Okay? If this organization would, in fact, take the leadership and submit an ordinance to the city council that overpayment be fairly adjudicated, and that the members who had paid the full amount on their own without any coercion being stipulated, that they should be treated the same way as the people that were part of that class action lawsuit. Anyway, the point is, the city council can correct this. But if it's over $5,000, it has to go to the city council. And so if the board would take the leadership on that and ask, or through the offices of the mayor, submit a ordinance to the city council to include the members who paid the full amount and did not receive the 40% back, it has the ability to be passed, especially since the mayor has declared that he's in favor of correcting the mistake. He's publicly stated that. It's on record. I have the videotape. And so I think there is something the pension board can do. I know before you took the position that it was out of your hands and that it was left with the mayor. Well, the mayor is the chairman of the pension board. The mayor can have the pension board submit the ordinance. So I'm here today on behalf of retired fire and police and widows who did pay that amount and who got left out of it. You know, $4,000 or $5,000 to a retired person is a lot of money. And there's also an issue of what's right and wrong. And you've already came out on the side that it was wrong. And I tried to point out all the way through as it was going on that people were being punished for being honest and trying to cooperate. And I didn't think it was right. And if the pension board takes the leadership, you can correct it now. And I hope you will do that. That's what I'm here to talk about. Does anybody want to speak on it?
No, I don't think this is the right time to have a discussion about this. And in response to your comment about the mayor, I think he is taking the lead on this, Del. So,
well, he has, but he took the position that the Bureau of Risk Management said it wasn't a good idea. Well, I've been told since that not only do they not remember that, but they don't see a problem if it goes to the city council because it has to be approved by the city council anyway. And so it takes an ordinance to do that.
I know. Well, we're not prepared to do that today, Del.
I understand.
Particularly without two of our members being here as well. So thank you for your comments.
Well, will it be followed up on, or is it just going to die?
Well, it'll probably be followed up on if you continue to come forward, but I think that the mayor has addressed your issues here. Personally, this is not something the board can handle. We've told you that. We cannot do this.
Well, you know, I would like to tell you something. in that IRS declaration, it said that it could be paid out of a reserve fund. And PERS paid their settlement out of their reserve fund. We have a reserve fund of $750,000. And I do believe it could have been paid out of that if we would have researched the legality of it at the time.
I don't think that's accurate, Del, but I don't want to get into this conversation about all these details and bring up, our counsel and so forth, because we've gone over this so many times.
We have, but it's not resolved, is it?
Well, it's not resolved to your satisfaction.
Well, not just mine, not just mine.
Okay. We're going to move on, Del. I thank you for your comments. Are there any more comment period people signed up? Okay. All right, we'll move on to the action items, and the first one is the budget for 2016 and 17.
Kathy, you.
There we go.
Okay. Good afternoon, I'm Nancy Hartline, FPDR Financial Manager, and as usual in January, we bring a staff recommended budget to your attention and ask you to approve or adjust as needed in order for us to submit a requested budget to the City Budget Office, and that's due to the CBO on February 1. So we'll cover the recommended budget, the 5-year forecast, tax rates, key performance measures, and then we'll ask you for a motion to approve and/or amend the recommended budget. As usual, we start our methodology and assumptions review with pensions because they are by far the largest part of the FPDR budget. And the two components for that are the FPDR2 retirements and then the pension benefit adjustments. For the retirements in the current year, we're again using the actuarial projection only with no additional cushion. Actuarial projections are really good in the long run, not so much in the short run. That's when we may or may not choose to add a cushion to increase the number of retirements in the budget. But for this year, with a total of 72 expected retirements, 31 active police, 37 active fire, and 4 disability and vested termination retirements, we think 72 is a high enough number that we don't feel the need to increase it with a cushion of additional retirements. The other factor we have in addressing the volatility of the retirement number is, of course, our fund contingency, and we'll talk about that later. The other key component for the pension budget is the pension benefit adjustments. FPDR1 is increased in step with top step firefighters and police officers. When we did the budget, we thought that was going to be 1.7%, and then the Bureau of Labor Statistics surprised us and released the numbers a month early. So the Consumer Price Index for wage earners, CPIW, that change was actually 0.3%. So under the 1% floor that the city labor agreements have. So we're now going to be using a 1% assumption for FPDR1. But in addition to that, the Portland Firefighters Association is in negotiation for a contract renewal. So the FPDR1 for the fire members may be 1%, maybe some other number, depending on the outcome of those negotiations. And for FPDR2, this board, of course, determines the FPDR2 adjustment at the March or perhaps a later meeting. For now, we're assuming that the board will continue to follow PERS as closely as practical, and the PERS service blend COLA, which is 2%, and for the percentage of service prior to October 2013, and 1.25% maximum for service after October 2013, will be the assumption for most retirees. The retirees in the current fiscal year may get less than 2% for pre-October 2013 service because the CPIU change was 1.23%. And this graph shows the history and our forecast for FPDR2 retirements. You can see that 72 in the current year, fiscal year end 16, compares to a low of 20 in fiscal year end 10 and a high of 105 in fiscal year 07. So there is quite a lot of volatility in these numbers. The 37 active fire members represent 41% of the active members who are eligible to retire in Portland Fire and Rescue. The 31 active police members that we're projecting represent 30% of their retirement eligible employees. For the police, it's about the same number as we saw last year, but for fire, it's more than twice what we saw last year. Moving on to the FPDR3 PERS contributions, these are paid as interagency agreements with police and fire as we reimburse them for their actual FPDR3 PERS contribution costs. And of course, the numbers are driven by the PERS contribution rates, which are going to remain at 20.64%, but we expect to increase significantly in the next two biennia. By 16% in fiscal year end 18 and almost 13% in fiscal year 20. For disability, these are trended with, these components are trended with wage and medical inflation. Biweekly, the projection for the current year is above the adopted budget for the year and the prior year. Monthly continues to decline as those members retire. Medical, the projection for this year is below the adopted budget, but above the prior year. And then return to work, the projection is above the adopted budget, but below last year. For administration, personnel services is increasing by 6.9% with step increases, cost of living adjustments, benefit inflation, and also an ad package. This ad package, which also needs to be approved by council, should the board approve it, combines 2 part-time senior financial analyst positions into 1 full-time one and adds a management analyst to address a key continuity of operations risk we have by serving as a backup for our sole senior business systems analyst, as well as for the senior financial analyst. So this would be an increase of half a full-time equivalent in our staffing, bringing us from 16.5 FTE to 17, and the first year cost increase will be $24,000. Materials and services is projected to increase by 8.7% as we have a contract increase from our database consultant. It'll be a valuation year, so we'll have the expense for the valuation and the levy adequacy analysis. Claims investigation costs have been increasing recently, and Kaiser is beginning to charge us for Kaiser on-the-job enrollments. So those are the main components of the increase in materials and services. Capital is actually going down. We've completed most of our development work on the database, but do still have some work to expand the member portal access to non-city devices and also to retirees. Contingency, we're recommending remain at 8%, but we decrease this to 7% in the out years. And the risks to the forecast that we've identified as always outstanding litigation and almost always PERS rate increases in the out years. And a new one is the downtown office rate equalization proposal. As part of the Portland building project, the city is proposing to equalize downtown office space rates for all city bureaus except fire and police, even if they are not in city-owned properties. So we're watching to see if FPDR will be affected by this in the future. Our lease expires July 2017, so we'll be beginning work fairly soon on that project. Turning to the revenue side, non-property tax revenue sources, we have interest earnings, of course, on our fund balance. Interest rates are starting to creep up after many years of very low rates. Subrogation and miscellaneous revenue is projected for, or budgeted for, $64,000. And interagency revenue, which has been growing rapidly as police has phased in sharing a percentage of their contract work for other agencies with FPDR, that's budgeted at almost $900,000, but less than the adopted budget, as police's contract work has been less than expected this year. Their main contract is with TriMet for transit police. And this brings us to the summary of resources and requirements for the recommended budget. The property tax number of $128 million includes $2.4 million in prior year taxes. The tax anticipation notes usually look high this time of year. The actual borrowing will be sized in June or July when we know our cash flow better at that point. Then under requirements, you can see that pensions are increasing by 4.4%, though that will be slightly lower as all of the requirements will be with the new COLA assumption. The FPDR 3 PERS contributions increasing by 16%. Disability and death benefits are actually decreasing. The $7.1 million recommended budget is a little above our $7 million projection for this year, and considerably above last year's actuals, but it is below our adopted budget for this year. Most of the decline, of course, is due to monthly members retiring. Administration and delivery overall is increasing by 6.5%, and fund level requirements are up slightly with the larger tax anticipation note at this point. The 5-year forecast shows a similar picture. Property taxes are expected to increase 36% over the 5 years. Retirement benefits are increasing by 22% for FPDR 1 and 2, and by 147% for FPDR 3. Disability and death benefits are increasing modestly. The decline in monthly continues, and the rest are growing by an average of about 20% for the non-monthly components of disability and death benefits. Administration and delivery is increasing 27%, and fund level requirements increase from the tax anticipation note and contingency growth. The tax levy graph shows historical and forecast levy rates, and I'll focus on the bottom red line, which is the real market value rate. FPDR's levy is capped at $2.80 per $1,000 of real market value by the charter. We do not expect the lower inflation numbers to change these numbers because they're a pretty high level number. But the gross Measure 5 real market value rate remains at $1.29 and will increase up to $1.38 over the 5 years. So we are still a little below half of our levy cap. Real market value the real market value rate grows more slowly than the assessed value rate on the top of the graph, because assessed value is, of course, capped by measures 5 and 50, whereas real market value is not, and real market value growth is forecast to be 10% for the budget year. Actually, it was in 2015, and we'll have those numbers soon. And then the growth is expected to be in the 4.5% to 5% range for the rest of the period. This is the second year of reporting key performance measures that are displayed on a performance dashboard webpage for each bureau. And when we're done with this presentation, I'm going to take a moment and show you the webpage. Because we don't provide a service to the general public, we focus on what drives our budget and therefore the tax rates that people have to pay. FPDR 2 retirements, of course, drives our pension budget. The FPDR 3 membership drives the OPSERP, the PERS contribution rates, disability claims, and the percent of workforce on disability drive our disability expense. Administrative expense, which is the one part that we can really control, shows our fiscal stewardship for the public's tax dollars. This number excludes the program administration budget, so the disability analysts and the pension coordinator, for example, are not included in this number because they're directly providing service to our members. And then, of course, the final levy rate is the measure of our impact on both the public's taxes and on our levy adequacy.
Hey, Nancy, can you remind me what the big drop in admin cost was between fiscal year 14 and 15?
Yes, I can. Fiscal year end 14, it was extremely high because we had legal settlement costs, legal expenses associated with the tax offset overpayment recovery lawsuit and also the fire apparatus operator
Oh,
pay.
right.
And that
Okay.
was booked as an administrative expense rather than a benefit expense. That completes our presentation. Do you have any questions, any suggested changes for the requested budget?
Just one question on the assumed COLA for FPDR 1. You left it at 1.7, is that right?
No, well,
Oh,
it's
you-
in the numbers that you have.
In the numbers, it's
1.7.
Right.
We will run the new numbers through for the proposed budget, as we always have in the past when we found those numbers out after
Okay.
we presented them to you.
Okay.
We always have changes for the proposed anyway, because we have to agree with our interagency partners and fire and police. You know, their hiring isn't really known until the proposed budget. So that big interagency agreement on the PERS contributions always changes for the proposed budget anyway.
Any questions? Thank you very much. I guess we need to, a motion to approve this? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget as presented.
Call for vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I will take just 1 minute to show you
Oh,
this
the website?
website. So when you bring up the, where did it go? Okay, so when you bring up the city's website, their webpage, it just shows one bureau to start, and then you select the bureau's logo, and it shows you the key performance measures for each of the bureau, for the bureau you've selected. So in this case, here's FPDR. These are last year's numbers. They don't yet reflect our number for the budget that we're about to submit. But I would also like to point out Portland Fire and Rescue's KPMs, because one of their KPMs is the time lost to on-duty injury in full-time equivalent employees. So since you are about to hear from them on an injury prevention program, I thought you might find that interesting that this is part of their key performance measures.
What website is that?
Go to the city budget office and then look for key performance measures on there. And if you do approve Portland Fire and Rescue's request, if you could make a motion to include that in the requested budget, I would appreciate it.
Okay. Okay, next is Resolution 507. Loss Prevention Program presentation.
Hi, my name's Gabe Sansone, Fire Liaison. This is Janet Woodside. You might remember, we've done some versions of this in the past, and we've had some good results on our most recent version of the injury prevention program. We actually had a 10% reduction on that most recent one, which is about 2 years ago. In the September meeting, Trustee Delaney requested that we take a fresh look at expenditures towards a injury reduction program, and he said he'd like to see that sometime in the next 6 to 9 months. So with that, here's Janet Woodside.
Afternoon. I'm the EMS Program Manager for Portland Fire and Rescue, and I oversee the wellness aspect of the fire department. This year, we're coming to you with an injury prevention program that we've entitled Stability and Mobility, and our goal is to reduce fire-approved service claims. You can see the numbers that the board gave us. The fund gave us $1.4 million fiscal year ending in 2014, and you can see we have a high number of back injuries, shoulder, knee, neck. So our goal in this program in partnership with the Pension and Disability Fund is to reduce workplace injuries. We want to re-educate our firefighters on proper body mechanics and lifting. We do, the general population, they go on a lot of medical calls, firefighters, and we actually track the number of obese patients, and every year that is climbing steadily, so that's a huge issue. And it's not like a crew of 4 can lift a patient if they have a cardiac arrest in a bathroom. Usually it's one person in a very precarious lifting position, and so we do see a lot of back injuries related to lifting. We want to address exercise-related movements, including proper use of fitness equipment. We have seen an increase of injuries when they're doing their fitness-related activities, so we want to address that, make sure they're exercising properly. We utilize science-based exercise programs to correct their movement dysfunctions and muscle imbalances. We want to utilize our peer fitness trainers. We have 19 firefighters who have gone through a 40-hour certification course looking at specific firefighter-related health issues, and we propose to train these peer fitness trainers on these programs that I'm going to address in a minute and show you. And the peer fitness trainers would go to the fire stations, our 30 fire stations, to train firefighters and support their daily workouts. We want to reinforce proper use of exercise equipment and weightlifting. We would monitor our outcomes. The number one thing, of course, would be reducing our fire service claims. But we would do a pre and post movement pattern test, a pre and post program survey, and ensure that all our firefighters are participating. Our management is very helpful and encouraging of the program, and we would report to FPDR at the 6-month mark and 1-year mark. Gabe is the lead on this with our Pension and Disability Fund. Chief Kevin Shanders, our EMS chief, myself, and our statistician, Carrie Anderson, is helping us with this project. And I just wanted to show you, you're well aware of what fire goals are, to save lives and property and serve our community. But another one of our goals is to prevent injuries to our firefighters. And this is just some of the tasks, most of them that a day in the life of the firefighter, and I'm sure you're well aware they go on medical calls and they have to train quite a bit, hazmat calls, all kinds of different things, inspections, training. But the very last thing, bullet point on the red I put, is physical fitness. So you could imagine that day of many calls that they're going on and trying to find time for fitness, but it is a priority. Our rules and regulations do state that firefighters will remain physically fit. So introducing the Stability and Mobility Program, again, in partnership with the board, with the Pension Disability Fund, because suppression activities require a high level of physical fitness and patient care and movement require strength. We need muscular strength, endurance, flexibility, and aerobic capacity. This Stability and Mobility Program that we're introducing, we want to improve function of firefighters, make their joints more stable, more strength, skill, and control, mobility of joints, and refresher training like we discussed on fitness equipment currently in the fire stations. Our previous partnership, which we called ExerSafe 2 years ago, reduced injuries by 10%. So we know these health promotion, these programs do work. I just wanted to show you a quick demographic slide and just a quick number that almost 50%, about 48% of our firefighters are over age 40, so that definitely plays a factor. There's more wear and tear on the bodies. These are the components of our stability and mobility program. We want to have functional firefighters that are able to do the job with less injuries, and so they need a strong foundation. So like I said, we need to re-educate them and coach them in proper use of exercise and exercise equipment. And we want to correct their muscle imbalances and movement dysfunctions, and that will lead them to have more power and strength and less injuries. We have a two-pronged program. The first is called Hip Neutral, and it was one of my firefighters that actually brought me this program because she was able to actually compete in an Ironman event and did this to keep healthy and injury-free during that year long that she was training. But John Lindala is a physical therapist, fitness professional, and author. He has a Master's of Science in Performance Enhancement and Injury Prevention, and he developed this Hip Neutral program in June of 2014 and has used it with athletes, firefighters, one-on-one training in groups. Basically, in the upper left, the illustration shows a Hip Neutral, one of his main theories behind this program. Basically, that the bucket is like your pelvis. As long as your muscles are all strong and aligned and you don't have any stresses or strain, everything works properly. But if you get a muscle strain or get out of shape or you sit a lot, your hip flexors or other muscles, you have a low back injury, become tight, everything gets out of balance. And so this program with a set of simple exercises can correct that. And then the body is a closed chain system, so if you correct the pelvis and the hip area, that helps the low back and the knees. And then we've also been introduced to a very well-known program called Supple Leopard, and there's a hip and low back correlation to their program, but we really honed in on this program, the shoulders, because we do have quite a bit of shoulder injuries. And so I'm going to go to the next slide, which talks a little bit about Supple Leopard. Dr. Kelly Sturrett developed this program, and it focuses on shoulders, low back, and hips. And to prevent injuries, Supple Leopard developed a tool to make the invisible visible. Over 70,000 athletes in San Francisco, they looked at them in the lab to assess their movement patterns before injuries occur. And they developed a model that allows us also to identify problems, whether they're motor control or biomechanical in origin. And they're a very popular program that's used with the Navy SEALs, the NFL, NBA, lots of sports teams, and strength and power athletes. And so we really have researched this, and they also prevent to the medical community as a great injury prevention program. The other thing we do with our peer fitness trainers is train them on equipment. The Pension and Disability Fund in the past has given us the TRX trainers because we wanted to improve our core fitness. That's the upper picture. We bring our trainers in for education, and this was a core program. And then the bottom right-hand pictures is kettlebell. We want to send our trainers out to make sure that firefighters are using all this equipment properly. So we hope our program will reduce firefighter injuries. There's going to be a mandatory participation by all members early in their shift. You can see a lot of their tasks would get in the way, but we've gotten management support to encourage this early in their day. It's a high priority, and we're going to target the highest types of injuries. Like I said, the back, hips, neck, shoulders, and knees. We're going to utilize our peer fitness trainers. And beginning in April 2016, the peer fitness trainers will travel to the 30 fire stations to train the firefighters. And we're going to introduce through our TV services program a new workout content every month. They'll go in and they'll teach them the hip neutral programs and the Supple Leopard, but we'll also add some kettlebell and TRX trainers and cardiovascular workouts just to keep it fresh and new. And then the peer fitness trainers will be correcting their form as they observe and work out with their firefighters, and then again we'll be monitoring the outcomes. So the cost of this program, the overtime costs for our peer fitness trainers to visit the stations and support the daily workouts include, like I said, we have 30 stations. We have A, B, and C shifts. 3 shifts is $90, And then we'd like them to go each quarter, make sure they're going through, to motivate the firefighters and going through all the exercises correctly. And so that would be about 360 times a year. It'd be about an hour and a half per visit. And you can see the overtime rate there per hour. And so just for the overtime and the different locations, we also have fire personnel at our fire marshal's office, logistics and training, all the sworn firefighters. And so that total would be about $27,800. And then to film the videos, a small cost for some peer fitness trainers to come out to our TV studio, and a physical therapist consult, the John Landala, to come out also to make sure they're trained and run through this correctly. And then fitness equipment and maintenance to provide proper strength and conditioning equipment, about $16,600. So a program not to exceed $50,000. And what would the benefit be? Hopefully, definitely reduce our work service-related claims and improve firefighter performance, have stronger, more agile firefighters at scenes, and reduce our escalating healthcare costs and absenteeism. And higher levels of fitness show statistically significant protective effect that, firefighters are going to get injured. It just happens because of the scenes that they're on. But if a firefighter's injured, they do heal faster if they're more in shape. So therefore, there'd be less cost to FPDR. So that's our proposal, and I appreciate your time this afternoon. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? I have a few comments. First off, I want to commend the Fire Bureau for being proactive. It's very unfortunate the Police Bureau does not see this as a priority. I believe your programs have been successful and been borne out with the numbers that we've seen. And it's very impressive that you guys are taking a proactive approach to this to prevent injuries. I'm serious about that. And it's non-existent in the Police Bureau.
Well, actually, one of your officers stopped by the other day, and he saw the Supple Leopard book and asked me, and I said, we'd love for you to come to our training when we train.
That's
our
my second
peer
point.
fitness
I can hardly wait to approach my Portland's bravest on calls and ask them if they're a Supple Leopard yet.
We do get harassed a lot about the name.
It's going to be fantastic. Anyway, thank you. It's a very good proposal.
I want to thank you too, because I know all of you have jobs, from Janet and Gabe and Carrie and everybody that's involved in this. This is something extra that you do to try to make our members safe, injury-free, and I know it's not just, you have all this time to create these programs and to work on this stuff, so thank you for going the extra mile on this. I think it's great, and I know it helps, and just more the better, and if we can include our police brothers and sisters, I'm all for that too. I just don't know the avenue of if you have a contact with them or how it actually happens, but I think we should start that conversation so we're all working on the same thing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious what the response, whether you've done surveys with your membership with the firefighters, what do they think about the program, and what kind of feedback are you getting?
So this particular program hasn't started yet, so we wouldn't have feedback on this one. On the last program, ExerSafe, which was a much smaller scale program, it was more of a test case to try this type of thing, and that was on 5 double companies that involved about 100 firefighters roughly. Carrie has the exact number, but for the most part, the people that participated, and I think we had 75% overall participation. Gary, is that 75%? Okay, I stand corrected. 72% that participated enjoyed the program. We showed good results. Again, we learned some things in that and tweaked it for this one, so this should work as well or hopefully better.
Okay, great. And so to clarify, you're asking for our $50,000 to be included in the budget, and that's $6,900 over what last year's actual was? I'm looking at your budget page there where you say,
Right,
43.
because we are going to start it in April. There are a few months this year.
yeah, okay. So it's 14, 15 months worth of, yeah.
So
The 43 was for the prior program that you were just talking about? No, okay.
No,
if I understand the request, part of the 50,000 they are requesting be added to our budget in the current fiscal year and the balance in the coming year.
I see, okay. Oh, I got it, all right. You understand that? Clear as mud?
We've done the research and we're ready to go, and so we would rather not wait
Okay, I
till
think I
July.
understand it too. All right. And so, any more questions?
No, sir.
Comments? All right. So I think we need a resolution then authorizing the $50,000 be added to the budget for this prevention loss program.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second that. Roll call?
Exactly how to, I think, do you have the motion written down, what we need? That we approve this program for the funds that are actually requested and they actually, are inserted in the budget that we approved a little bit ago.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then am I correct, we need a motion to include it in the budget, or was that just taken care of? That was good. All right. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, information items.
Yeah, so just sort of walk through the list of stuff that we have. For an information item here, give you a heads up, we're going to propose a small rule that you'll see come out in February, and you will get the vote on it in March. The rule comes from, is a result of the Portland City Council resolution passed in December. It's requiring the bureaus to convert all single-gender restrooms into multiple-use restrooms and to implement gender-neutral policies. It's the gender-neutral policies that will impact FPDR, which means we will need to go through the rules and everything else and strike out any gender-specific wording and move it to gender-neutral wording. So what we're going to be asking you for next time is to remember we had asked for a series of cleanup items that we could do without board approval, making rules in the board. We're going to ask if we can put changing to gender-neutral wording into that particular area, that we can go ahead and make changes to the rules to make them gender-neutral without having to come to the board for formal approval. So we'll share that with you in March for you to vote on. So just
Keep
let you
going
know.
back to this, but I think I should suggest supple leopard as the general. I will not say anything more about that.
Promise?
Yes. Well,
So the next one we're going to is going to be just a quick recap of our financial audit.
Hello, I'm Stacy Jones, Senior Financial Analyst at FPDR. Behind tab 2 in your board books, you'll see the annual external financial audit of FPDR, which is required in the city charter. It's performed by Moss Adams. This one is for the fiscal year July 1, 2014 through June 30, 2015. And I believe you all got hard copies in the mail. I'm sure that you read it when we sent them in December. So once again, we have a clean bill of health. There were no findings or recommendations from the external auditors, so nothing really exciting to report, but we're happy to answer any questions you might have.
No questions today, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, under tab 3, there are no FPDR updates that we haven't already discussed. So number 4 is future meeting agenda items. So next meeting is March 15th. It's 1 week earlier than scheduled, as per what you all had agreed upon. The big one that we'll talk about here is the benefit adjustment. This will probably take quite a bit of time because we're going to be discussing the PERS formula of how the blend of how they're going to do it. And then we have the second complicating issue. So this will be one of the first years in a long time that the actual CPI-U is below 2%. And so that will impact how PERS does it. It may impact how we calculate it. So it'll be quite a presentation, and we'll talk about all those impacts and make some recommendations or some options for you.
Does first come out with their formula?
We know what direction they're going with. I mean, they have a standard formula that they are going to use, and we'll go through that with you. Okay, so we'll send those out to you.
Come out with something.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard that it come out yet.
Okay.
I'd like to see that.
Okay, so we'll move that out to you. So this will probably be quite a bit of a discussion. If If you're quick, we can do it in one meeting, or we'll have to stretch it back out to May also. We don't have really any intention of adding any, at this point, any other big items to that meeting in March, because we think that will take most of the time, and you'll probably be pretty burned out by the time we're done with that topic. We'll give you a heads up that at some point this year, we're going to introduce a board handbook to you all, because we never have had one, and we'll need to have one in place when the new mayor is elected, just to give an overview of how FPDR works and the responsibilities of the board. It'll be nice for you guys to see what you're supposed to be doing, because we've never put it in words before. So that'll come down in the summer, and we'll bring that to your attention. The FPDR board handbook.
Board handbook.
I did receive an orientation book when I joined.
Yeah,
But
in
is it-
orientation, but it doesn't
Yeah.
cover what this one, this is a
Right.
lot more responsibilities and key information that we think board members should have. And the last one we have is under tab number 5, which is the expenses that we have, so I don't know if you have any questions on those. If at any time you look at these and want to have us walk you through them, give us a call. We'll be glad to have Nancy or Stacy spend some time with you and walking through what this means.
Questions on that? I think so.
Everything I have.
Thank you, Sam.
I had just one more.
Okay.
Thought we were supposed to be receiving a plan summary at some point.
We are trying to finish that up, just the attorneys keep throwing stuff at us, and so we keep having to tweak our wording. Our goal is to get it out as quickly as possible. It's this close to being done.
The next meeting, we should probably expect to see it.
If you want to tell me how to do it, that would be a nice way for me to force it. Yeah, we'll make our goal for March
I want it to
to,
be done right. That's
Yeah.
Great. But
we are very close to doing it. It's just a matter of one pass through of the last proofing that some people had done, and we'll get it done, so.
Okay, I think we are done with no more on the agenda. We are adjourned.
Thank you much.